Hi guys, welcome to another video with me. In today's video we are going to be doing something, well, we're going to be doing a postcard first of all. These are the Etchr Postcard watercolor paper, and so we're going to do, well, it's a postcard, right? So we're going to do a postcard, and we're going to do a very simplistic and serene looking wintry scene. And for colors, this time I am going to use a combination of my White Nights and these guys right here, the concentrated watercolor, Radiant Concentrated Watercolor by Dr. P.H. Martin's, okay? And then for brushes, we are using two of my brushes from the Black Tulip collection by Zen Arts. I'm using the flat 8 and then the round 8. And then for our tiny details, we're using the Escoda number 2. All right, I've got water ready, so I've got paper ready, I've got a palette here ready, so I can start mixing these guys in here, and we are good to go. So I'm just going to zoom in really quickly so you guys can see my sheet a little more up close and personal before we begin. So I've zoomed in, and here's what we're going to do first. We are going to get a little bit of color and add it to our palette on the side here, and then we're going to use the brushes to get the color directly from here and start painting. Okay, so I want the sky to be a blue and have bits of purple in it as well. So I'm going to use the turquoise. So I've got the turquoise and I've got violet here. Okay, so we're going to start off by adding some violet first. And literally a little goes a long way with this, so I'm just going to do a dab there. And then I'll do like a little bit here. That turned out to be a bit much. But that's okay. And then move that out of the way. And then I'm going to get some of the turquoise. And add that next to the violet. Go. Now that is a lot of color actually. So I might end up not using that violet and just using some of the blue. I'm going to put some onto the side. All right, good. So we are ready to begin. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dampen this sheet of paper. And so to dampen it, what we're going to use is the flat brush. So getting it damp from the water aside. I'm just going to make sure I have this ready with me here. So getting some water, a flat brush, we are going to go ahead and dampen this ever so carefully. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting some rough strokes of water here, and I am not going all the way to the edge so that I can get a nice jaggedy kind of feel. But I will go lower than where I want my trees to be, because this is just going to be the sky and trees and then the snow below. And so getting some of the color directly from here, I'm going to go ahead and begin. So using my number 8, just moving the color around, and then going back in with this guy, and we are dragging this down. And by dragging, I mean we're allowing the water to do its thing and pull it downward. Okay, now we can even just allow it to bleed downward a bit before we kind of just add a couple of strokes here and there. And then what I want to do is take some of the purple and just add it in. And I actually want a lot of the purple at the top so that it can be like really dark. and then coming down light. And then I'm just adding a couple of strokes here and there of the purple as well in between. And then we're going to wash off the rest of this brush, everything that we have on the brush. And then we're going to go in and pull more of this down. Because what I want to happen over here is I want a very soft fade of the blue, almost. I got some blue over here by mistake. Shouldn't be there. Ah! We'll figure it out afterwards. So I want a very soft fade, as I was saying. That kind of pulls it downward. I'm just going to make sure that all of this is mixed in properly. Fabulous. And now I've got, remember I put some blue aside and I mixed it in with some of the pink. There was like a light pink happening there. And so I'm just going to add some of that in there too. Now this is going to be a bright wintry scene. Okay, so now that I've got this done, I think we'll do our trees around this area right here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and use my number 2, and we are going to use some indigo from my White Nights. So I'm just going to take some of the indigo using my number 2, and I'm going to go ahead and start creating these little tiny trees. And what you're going to notice is happening is that it's getting very blurry. And that's okay. So all I'm doing is drawing a line and then kind of just zigzagging my way across to create this tree. And it's just right at the edge of where the blend, the water kind of ends. So I'm kind of going back and forth, filling this whole area with trees, leaving a lot of white space in between as well. Some trees are tall, some are short. If you want to have a nice little blend of color, I would encourage you to get some blue into this. There is a color called blue in this 36 set. So every now and then in between, instead of just using the plain indigo, I'm kind of getting some of the blue as well. And I am adding my first layer of trees. And it's this really pretty blue, blend that's going on over here, that's kind of a nice offset with what we have happening at the top. I know the top is quite shocking, but what is art if you can't create something that makes you give it another look and go, oh, what's that? So these trees right here, I'm making them extra tall and just dabbing away. Adding some dark indigo at the bottoms here, because this dampness is giving us such a pretty blend. I love it. So these are going to be like the trees that stand out a bit more, the taller ones here that we're doing. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a darker hue compared to the rest. And by darker hue, I mean I'm getting more of that indigo and adding more highlights to the trees while it is still damp. And then let's just do one more here, a smaller scale. And now we'll allow this to dry just a tad bit, and then we'll come back and add some more details. So right now I'm just adding a couple of dabs. So this is wet on wet for my foreground trees. Okay, so these tall guys over here, I just want to add a couple additional details so that they stand out a bit more. And just adding a couple of dabs at the bottom as well for these guys so that it blends in. So the rest of this area is going to be all snow, right? So I'm just adding a couple of that, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and dampen this area and get some nice shadows for our snowy area. Ignore the blue. So again, I'm going to go ahead and get my flat brush, and we are just going to quickly dampen it more. So I've dampened the brush, and we're just going to go ahead and add these little lines, the strokes, using this brush ever so lightly here. And what we want to achieve is a slight bit of a shadow, because the rest of this is just going to remain pretty much white, really. Maybe we'll add a stroke of color here or there. So now I'm using the number 2 again, and I have some leftover Payne's gray on here, and I'm just going to lightly add a couple of strokes while this is damp. And what's happening is it's giving us a very faded kind of blend. So this color is just blending into the water strokes that we've just laid down here. And I'm pulling out some of the dark base from the bottom of these trees that we've just painted in as well. And it's giving us a very pretty kind of shadow. So this exercise is meant to get you used to, I guess, the wet on wet technique, the blending, while creating something pretty and simple and wintry looking. So you could use this for your postcards or what have you, and also get some practice if you're new to watercolor. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just using the tip of my brush, and I'm getting some of that indigo again. And while this area is still damp, I'm just going to add a couple of strokes to the side so that it looks like there's the horizon and it's just fading off. And our main guys, I'm just adding a couple of strokes here and there. And this is perfect. So now we're pretty much done. If you want, you can add a little bit of detail at the bottom of the area here. But if not, we're just going to go in and add more details to our trees so that they stand out, especially these ones, so that they stand out more. Right now, they're nice and blurry and they blend in really well. So we're going to add a second layer to our trees so that they really pop, okay? So let's do that. So I went ahead and made that a time lapse so you guys can see what that looks like over here. But it's pretty much what I did in this for the background trees, just waited for it to dry a little bit and just went in and really lightly touched up on areas here and there. And we've come across, well, we've kind of come to this stage here. Now you can either choose to leave the other trees as is, or you can go ahead and add a little bit more detail, and I'm just going to add some detail here and there. And this is pretty much what I had done in the time lapse. I'm just adding a little bit of detail here and there to these ones. What I'm going to do is, instead of doing it to the extent that I did for the main ones, I'm just gonna very lightly add it here and there, and as I'm kind of going outward, I am going to do less detail on it, on the trees, so that they kind of look like it's going from super detailed to like phasing out almost, if that makes any sense. Okay, so there's one, and this one, again, I'm just gonna add a few touch-ups here and there to this, and then leave it. And then finally for the extreme opposite, extreme end, literally at this point I'm just doing little jabs. And then a couple of dots here and there just on the outskirts for these guys. This one at the end over here, it needs just a tad bit more, I think. That's it. So I'm not going to do any more. I think this is perfect. And this is what we've ended up with. Now, I want to add one more detail to this, so I'm going to introduce some glisten. Why not? So I've got these amazing colors by KMS. By now the sky should be dried up already. So we're going to add a little bit of glitter in the sky, especially in those dark areas. So I've got this color, this metallic color, it's called Diamond. So we can either use diamond or platinum or maybe even a combination of both. And we'll add some details to the sky at the top. So I'm just going to move this down just so you guys can see better as I am doing this. And we're going to go ahead and get some KMS Diamond. I gotta activate this color really well. There we go. And I think this is dried up. So what I'm going to do is just going to add, actually, you know, for this, splatter first. Let's do a splatter, because I'm pretty sure we can get some, we can get these dots quicker with a splatter than we can with just going in individually and trying to paint them in. Now I can go in and kind of maybe do my own bigger dots if I want some larger ones. So like that, like that. Some at the bottom, like lower down. I deliberately did one right there with the water. Some at the very, very top. Some even in the trees, or like, sorry, on the trees. You can't quite see that just yet, but okay, so now that we've got this in, we can actually go ahead and kind of add very tiny hints of like stars using just barely the tip of your brush and kind of just drawing that in. We're painting that in just here and there, just tiny, barely touching the sheet, just so you can get nice thin lines. At the very top there. Okay, so that's, you get the idea, right? But what I would like to do is adding a nice star on maybe the main tree right there. So let's do that. Get more of that color. And putting this up so you can see. And I'm just dabbing a couple of dabs all around it. Maybe it can look like stardust or something is coming down from the sky onto it. But this glitter or this metallic shade is perfect for something like this. Like we've got this beautiful vibrant sky, and now we've got like some really pretty stars happening in this really pretty glitter, and I'm just going to throw some in between the trees as well. Now I didn't quite go with the splatter all the way in this area because it's lighter, and I figured we could just assume that you don't see it as much. So I'm just very lightly dabbing to add this polka dot sort of snow effect, not polka dot, snow effect amongst the trees. Okay, so this is what we've come up with, and I think it's super pretty, super easy to do, and minimalistic with a nice pop of color. So hope you guys like this video. Let me know in the not the description, the comments below what you thought. If you're looking for any of these items that I've used here, they're all listed in the description below, so feel free to check those links out. They are affiliate links. You can either choose to purchase from there or purchase from your local art store. Last but not least, if you liked this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. And also, if you do end up doing this, I would love to see how yours turned out, so please do tag me on social media. My Instagram handle is @HelloClariceG, and I'm also on Facebook. So thanks guys for watching, and we'll chat soon. Bye!